Well, here we are for the final video of this series where everything was acceptable in the 80s. That's right, this is the 1,000 kilometers of Brands Hatch. Let's see how we get on in our Group C giant, the Porsche 956. Well, here we are then for the final video in this mini-series of trying to find the World Endurance Championship a new home in the UK when they do decide to come over here, but also look back at the history of endurance racing at each of the realistic options that I've gone through. So here we are, finally returning to Brands Hatch for the all-time classic 1,000 kilometer race. Now this one is not set in the particular years. We go down the inside of the Porsche and he stays there around the outside. We need to go back in the back of him. If we nearly underpower this car, you've got to be so careful with it. After having driven all those cars from the sort of early noughties, even though these ones are probably a bit wider and probably have much bigger tyres and maybe even a little bit more aero, just the sheer amount of power these cars have is just, it needs taming, and hopefully I can last the 100 kilometer race that I've set out to do. But yeah, as I was saying, this isn't set in any particularly apart from vaguely the 80s. Only because really I wanted to race against the Sauber Mercedes, was it C9, as well as the Lancias and the Jags as well. But they never all raced together at once. They all sort of came and went in different years. However, obviously the Porsche 962 was a pretty constant throughout the 80s, and the 956 as well. So the eagle-eyed viewer may notice that not all of these cars are from the same year, but that's the reason why, just because I wanted the best of the 80s all in one race. And actually the AR are pretty quick around here, and it should be a pretty good fight. But yes, as I was saying before, this is the final install of our little mini-series. We've gone through with the 2024 World Endurance Championship cars for Brands Hatch, Donington, Oulton Park and Silverstone, to find which is the best suited circuit for hopefully the return of the World Endurance Championship at some point in the next year or so. And then gone back through and did Donington Park from 2001 European Le Mans race. We did Silverstone, which was the American Le Mans race from the year 2000. Oulton Park, it was a British GT 2002 race, the famous one where it rained and many cars aquaplaned and crashed. And then here we are in this mighty Porsche going around a classically skinned Brands Hatch track. Weirdly enough, there isn't an actual classic layout of Brands Hatch on Assetto Corsa by modders, which honestly thought they would be. So there's certainly other unique ones out there, but I think Brands Hatch you would have thought would be one of the sort of first ones. Well, not first ones, but you know, sort of slightly higher in demand, perhaps. Although I think there is one in the works by a couple of people, but at the time of this video it wasn't ready. But I think the skin does it justice. I mean, I know the layout would have been slightly different back in the 80s. Yeah, certainly some of the corners, the profiling would have been a little bit different. If anything, a little bit faster. But however, Brands Hatch is still Brands Hatch, and it's a absolutely brilliant circuit. I do love it. I used to live 20 minutes from it, so over the years it's certainly been the racetrack I've gone to most. We've definitely caught up with these Jaguar cars. I think that's Sauber C9 at the front of this train, and then a couple of Porsches. I think that's a 956 up ahead, and that's a 962 in front of us. The is it Skull Bandit? I'd love the livery of that one. We're currently in the Canon liveried Porsche as we outbrake ourselves as we went for a move down the inside, and let's see if we can get it back. Yeah, I do have a much better exit because I'm just not as confident on the accelerator because as we touch slightly. Unfortunately, he was on the gravel there, wasn't he? In my mirror, just saw him. Oh, that's a shame. Once again, I ruined a perfectly good battle. But let's see if we can catch up with those guys up ahead. Although that Porsche behind me has caught up very quickly, so we'll keep an eye on him. I say this track just doesn't give you a rest, does it? It's just so really physical, especially with this car. You really got to wrestle it in, and they've got to be really delicate on the exit of all the corners, especially on the fast ones, because when that turbo spools up, those tyres will kick and you'll be off. So yeah, about the Brands Hatch 1,000 kilometres, it was originally part of the World Sports Car Championship, and so this race would push drivers and teams to the absolute limit over, sometimes it was a 6-hour duration, sometimes 1,000 kilometres, sometimes it was 500 at one point. Yeah, certainly the British weather always liked to play a part in it. Obviously you had the famous Pedro Rodriguez back in 1970 in his 917. Yeah, famous race in the wet, where Pedro drove an absolute storm of a race, certainly the race of his life. But just because it's such a technical circuit doesn't give you a rest. It's fairly narrow, especially with these cars back then, and because of all the fast corners, we get very sideways there. Once again, I say you've got to be so careful the amount of throttle application you put compared to what your steering angle is, because it will just want to turn around on you. But certainly by the 80s it was Group C racing was all the rage, and all the manufacturers wanted to battle it out, and Brands Hatch was certainly one of those legendary battlegrounds. But, certainly the cars of that era were certainly the standout part of those races. Certainly, like I briefly said, Porsche in, which we've now gone wide. And that Porsche behind us is going to try and capitalise. Really need to start reeling those front runners back in, ideally. I think there's about 40 cars in this race. I think I'd be quite happy with the top 10, in all honesty. I think I qualified about, I think it was about 20th, so definitely I was mid-pack, so I don't know if I've gained that many positions. I might have actually lost a couple. But yeah, I mean, you know, if Group C had a mascot, I think the 956 would be it. You know, Porsche. Oh, we've got a couple of cars off there. I think that's one of the Lancias, I think. But it has brought those cars back towards us, so hopefully we can capitalise on that. But yeah, as I was saying, yeah, certainly if you think of Group C, you think of a Porsche 956. Let's say it was launched in 82, and it was specifically designed for Group C. And yeah, Porsche, you know, it's fuel efficiency, while being able to maintain incredibly high speeds, powered by a twin turbo flat six. It was an absolute monster. I think it pumped out about 600 horsepower or so, if I remember. And it had quite a low drag coefficient for the time, so you know, at Le Mans it was perfect. And say any of these racetracks, even Brands Hatch, it's, you know, not so long back straight, you know, you can get up to a higher speed than most. And also it still holds the Nürburgring lap record, so it was sort of untouchable in that era. And certainly Porsche has quite a few wins, I think. 82, 83, 84, 85 and 86. They had a good run, as well as then obviously the famous 917 and the 908 also won it as well back in the late 70s. So yeah, Porsche's always had a strong showing at this track. Yeah, certainly, you know, if you think of Group C, another one is the Lancia. Sort of more famously known for their rallying, but they did do a fair bit of endurance racing. But they did decide to give the endurance racing game a go. They did partner up with Ferrari, and they did develop a 3-litre twin-turbo V8 as I decided to cut that corner there. I don't think that's going to help me, although I do always cut this one. As well as Dingle Dell. Yeah, certainly one of the better sounding Group C cars. I think, you know, if you're talking about good sounding cars, I think Ferrari, regardless of what you think of them, I think they're always up there, aren't they? But say, certainly looked the part. It always had that touch of Italian flair. It was very fast, but the classic Italian stereotype of, at the time, not finishing races reliably. It was sort of like them in rallying anyway, but I mean, when they were on it, and you know, they did win, but unfortunately most of the time the reliability wasn't there, fortunately. But does that make it more of a gem in the Group C racing cars? It probably does. Certainly one of the favourites at Brands Hatch would be the Jaguar XJR-9, although they did raise the XJR-8 and 7, I think. They did get 2 wins in 87 and 88. With that brutal monster in the back. But certainly when they came in, it was sort of they did step up and started to challenge Porsche. I'd say the XJR-9 was fast on the straights, and it had a bit more aggressive handling, which was more than what was expected really from the British manufacturers. Once again we go deep into the corner and lose the position, and then get all squiggly on the way out. Let's see if we can get him back on the straight. We should try and get a good run here. If we can put the power down, get into the slipstream, use all the turbo. I think. Let's see if he hangs it around the outside. We'll have to break a bit earlier because we are a slightly compromised line. He's still there. Chuck it down the inside. Now we're going to go wide again onto the gravel, and off he goes. That's why I'm not a racing driver. But we should hopefully catch him up again. Maybe I shouldn't ramble too much. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about Jags, and I should be concentrating. This talking and racing is harder than it looks. It's all fun though. But yeah, so I was talking about the Jag, wasn't I? V12, 7 litre. I think it had around like 750 horsepower, 750. But yeah, certainly they brought the challenge to Porsche, and I think they got 2 wins at their home race of Brands Hatch in the late 80s. But unfortunately, as the Jags got good, it was sort of coming to the end of the Group C era, so they weren't really around for much longer after that. And obviously then the other standout car from that era, I'm talking about the Sauber Mercedes C9, which they partnered with Sauber and they threw everything at the car, and it had a 5 litre twin turbo V8, and that produced around 800 horsepower. So you can kind of see as the Group C era got on, the just build a more powerful engine than you. And we'll have to deal with the rest of it. But I say it was one of the fastest cars at Le Mans during that era. I think it hit 248 miles an hour as the Porsche completely messes it up going into the pits for some reason. Now I've just remembered that actually I had to brim the tank full on this car to try and get round to do the 100 kilometres, so actually I might be a little bit tight on fuel, and I've had to go for the softer tyres because for some reason the mediums just stay cold, so I might run out of fuel and tyres by the end. So we'll just, I forgot to monitor that actually, so we'll see how this goes. I might have to start lifting into each corner now. Well, hopefully I might have timed it perfectly and I should run out of fuel as I go over the line, but I doubt I'm that lucky. Again, I was like, yeah, the C9, yeah, fastest car at Le Mans, 248 miles an hour, and at Brands Hatch, well, you know, it's a lot of sort of point and shoot, really, isn't it? It's corner straight, corner straight, corner straight. So it did get its win in the 89 edition of the, well, actually that was only a 480 kilometre race distance, which unfortunately that was it for Group C endurance racing at Brands Hatch. They managed to sneak a last win there. And certainly the C9 is sort of a symbol of an end of an era, because sort of in '89 Group C was changing, and the C9 was part of that chapter. It would go on to win Le Mans that year and Brands Hatch, but it certainly made it clear that the days of the Porsche ruling endurance racing had come to an end. But it didn't take them long for them to come back. I mean, they've always been in endurance racing in one form or another, whether it's a 911 or back in top tier racing like they are now, and they're certainly poised to win a couple of championships this year, which brings me nicely on to sort of the conclusion really of this Series 1 and Series 1.5, the 4 races of the 2024 WC at Brands Hatch, Oulton Park. As we've got a car coming out of the pits. Hopefully you don't, well, I say don't distract me, but we certainly have. Yeah, Brands Hatch, Donington Park, Oulton Park and Silverstone, to find which was the best suitable home, which I think it's clear that it will probably be Silverstone, but Donington could also equally be as good as a replacement. I would ideally like to see it back at Brands Hatch. I think that'd be amazing, but would the circuit lend itself to multi-class? I think, well, my race did prove it, but can we rely on AI to represent the WEC? Probably not. And then one a bit more left field, the Oulton Park, which was a very, very fun race. That was absolutely mega, super quick circuit, but less than likely for it to happen. And then, say, this is just this part of it, the 4 races, repeating them, but as classic events, it's just a sort of blast from the past and hopefully more stuff to expect from in the future. Sort of a mini-series style, sort of 4 videos per series. I've got my next one lined up, which will be out next week, sort of every Friday I plan to do a video, but now we're getting into the sort of nighttime part of the race, which I thought I might finish before then. The sun is certainly set now. As soon as Brands Hatch is not geared up for night racing, it is, well, it's proper night racing. I think the only sort of night racing they do now is stuff like Brick Car or the KA 24-hour Enduro. But yeah, I've been a couple of times to the Brick Car into the night race, and it's, yeah, race cars look like they go much faster when it's dark. Much harder to photograph, but certainly if you've not been to a race where it's at night, definitely need to go experience it. Right, now I think I've just had a quick look, and I think somehow I'm up to second. I'm not quite sure how that's happened, but it has. No, so I measured that 12th. I'm up to 12th. That makes sense. Okay, so I've got 2 positions I'd like to make. Up to 4. I mean, I haven't seen the Jags. I haven't really seen the Sauber Mercedes. So I think they're probably at the front. I think the Lancia's perhaps not too far away. But I did say I'd like a top 10, so I need to find 2 cars, and I can just about see one up ahead. Oh, we've got one off there. Perhaps that might have been for position. I have actually an entire train of cars behind me as I hit the curb for some reason, and that really upsets the car. Now it's getting really, really dark. Actually getting quite hard to see. So you go through Hawthorns. Flat out. Oh, we got a car off there. What was that? Oh, that's a... Oh, what was that? Was that a... Maybe like a... Oh, he's there. He's still on the outside of me. That might be a lap to cover. There were a couple of cars off there. It might be 11th now. Let's see if I can catch that car ahead, because that would be my 10th place I would quite like. I've not actually done a little track guide for this, which I tend to do, but you'll know Brands Hatch by now, so I guess not important, but over the start finish line. As we come down to Paddock Hill Bend, and then up Hellwoods Hill to Druids. Try not to clip the curb inside again, nice and gently on the throttle. Down to Graham Hill Bend, which this would be a slightly different profile back in the 80s. I think you could sort of lift and take it rather than sort of being more of an aggressive apex. Then we're through Surtees, which you always got to be really careful with because of its sort of bacanda. The car really does want to turn around. Down Pilgrim's Drop, Hawthorn Hill, Hawthorn Bend. But certainly these cars behave a lot better than the WEC ones did. Oh, that's a... Was that a Lancia? I think that's my 10th place. I think with... What, is this my final lap? Or one more lap to go? I think that's my 10th place. Through Sterlings, or off Sterlings. We'll try and keep this car behind us with its 4 headlights. Through Clearways. Oh, we've got another car off there as well. Sort of drivers are falling asleep just before the end. Now, I'm not sure if any of the actual races did finish in the dark. I think I got my timing slightly wrong. Yeah, that's 10th place. Excellent. That's what I was hoping for. Top 10. I'm more than happy with that. Yeah, I can see the 2 Jag XJR-9s and a couple of Saubers cover the top 10 with a couple of Porsches in between. So yeah, I think I'm certainly best of the rest there. But yes, that concludes this little mini-series. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you for the next mini-series that should begin next week.